All right, we are live. Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins, live recap. Look, the Ravens they beat the Dolphins 28-6 tonight, and despite how bad the score looks, because the score does not look pretty if we are being 100% honest. The reality is the Dolphins had a chance at one point in this game, and it was not as bad as the score may have looked at a point in the game. And what I thought was kind of just Dolphins for the 2025 Dolphins was how the first half just played out. The reality is the Ravens had 4 first downs in the first half, and they were up 14-6. They were up 14-6 at halftime, and I was very much like, hey, there's a chance that the Dolphins can. Look, they can. We'll see. Maybe they can bounce back. Maybe they can keep themselves in the game. But as we know, it did not play out like that, and the Ravens ended up taking advantage. And like I said, I really thought that this was kind of a representation of the Dolphins season, just all in one. It was a very ugly game for Miami, and it didn't have to be. Now, some of the notes that I have, we'll go kind of from the start. I have Miami was in rhythm at a point, which they very much were. And there was a point in the game where, they were not like looking great by any means, but it was okay. Hey, maybe we can get something going. Baltimore didn't have a great start offensively. Like we said, 4 first downs in the first half. And then, it was just, hold on here. Let me check one thing here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's keep it going here. But the thing is Andrews had a touchdown after an insane rip by, the Ravens defense, which that was a tremendous play. And there was a false start penalty to kill the Dolphins drive. And I thought that was very much just that sequence specifically for the Dolphins after that worked out, I thought was very much just that is how the Dolphins season is right there. The Ravens were up 7-3 at that point, and they are, they're probably going to be 7-6 if we're being honest. It's 4th and 1. They get a false start. They miss the field goal. Baltimore goes down, capitalizes 14-3. And that in a lot of ways was the game. And there was one play that I want to heavily discuss, just because it was such an egregious call, and it was such a it was just such a bad call that I think it has to be it has to be talked about. The Ollie Gordon, the tripping call. That was as bad. That was as bad of a call as you're gonna have, man. And there's no oh well, maybe this, maybe that. That was one of the worst calls you'll see. Probably, that was one of the worst calls probably in the past 10 years. And for that to be called in that situation, Ollie Gordon, he got to the sideline, he was hot, and as he should have been. That was I don't have anything to say other than just truly how bad of a call that was. And there's times where I think you'll see players kind of that's a little bit of a dramatic reaction, if you will, for certain things. But that one was very fair for Ollie Gordon to be able to freak out the way that he did on the sideline, because that was a play that shouldn't have happened. And that's one where I kind of feel bad for Ollie Gordon. And that was one that, it should not have happened the way that it did. So, there's also within this, Chop Robinson walked slowly to the locker room. He didn't return. That's also one that was very unfortunate. It was the end of the first half sequence was also just it was also very Dolphins, just based on the 2025 season. You're down 14-6, and I kind of ask this question, and I want to ask this question I'm kind of half joking, but I'm kind of also hey, there's some truth to this. Did Tua take that sack purposefully before the half so he wouldn't have to throw the Hail Mary? I think that's a very, very fair question to ask. And I don't know, man. That was just the throw the ball out of bounds with 4 seconds left and then take a sack, because it's not like he didn't have a chance to throw the ball up. So that was just a bad play, and I don't think Tua actually took the sack purposefully, but I mean, the fact that you can actually bring that up and kind of like joke about it, it's not ideal for Tua, all things considered. So let's take a look here. I want to be able to get chats on the screen. There is something that I am not doing right, as I am a dummy when it comes to technology. But we'll figure it out, I promise. And let's keep it rolling here. All right. Let's see here. And by the way, the thing is even though there was the very bad play within the, like we said, we did talk about the Ollie Gordon play. That was a horrendous play call. That didn't have an outcome on the game because of how bad the game was. And I mean, there were the turnovers. There were it was just peak 2025 Miami Dolphins. You can start with anything you want. You can blame what you want, but when you lose the turnover battle the way Miami did in this game, 3-0, and when you can't capitalize and when you can't score touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens, that's going to be a problem. So I do want to get into some chats here, and we will start off by discussing the super chat from Leo. Appreciate the super chat. Leo says the challenge on Achan's catch was so petty. Look at the scoreboard and look at the Dolphins' record. Just let them have something. I mean, look, it kind of is what it is. But I mean, the Ravens also do not have a good record, and that's. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but play to the end. If you want to be upset about it, I can understand that. But appreciate the super chat from Goose as well. We back, baby. Lamar back. Kyle Hamilton, DPOY. Yeah, Kyle Hamilton looked good tonight. And he is, I mean, there was a quote from Kyle Van Noy. He said that the announcer said in the middle of the game that Kyle Van Noy would put him up there in the stratosphere of, it was Calvin Johnson. It was something ridiculous. It was Calvin Johnson. It was Tom Brady, I think Rob Gronkowski, yeah, those three, and then that Kyle Hamilton's up there. So I think that was a little ridiculous in the sense of, I mean, Kyle Hamilton's good. I don't think he's that good, but he's a really good player, man. And you saw that tonight. And by the way, I do have the shirt on. This is kind of specifically for Miami. Whenever I do discuss the Dolphins, I always go with the Miami themed shirt. So that's definitely one thing that we always do. So let's keep it going here. And hold on, I promise we're going to be able to get the chat up in a minute. This is just me very much being a dummy, and I promise that we'll be able to get it going here in a second. So again, like I said, I am not the best with technology, but I promise we're going to get there. So let's keep it going with the notes here. I also wrote down at one point that these teams are not on the same level, and that I thought was very fitting. And that was kind of the summarization of this game in a lot of ways. But these teams are not on the same level, especially when the Ravens are on. And that was, I mean, you saw it tonight. You saw it. And I know some of the stats here are kind of, they're not exactly the best in the sense of things. Hey, FA, Jalen Phillips getting traded. Is that confirmed? I mean, that's no, not yet. But I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't doubt it. All right. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's see here. No end zone for Henry Sad, but he did. The thing is he did go for over 100 yards, which we did have that as the prize picks play tonight. So shout out King Henry. We did have that, and yeah. So hope Chop Robinson is all right. Myself as well. That was you obviously hate to see players go down, and that was one where the concussions always. That's not one you want to see for obvious reasons. So that was definitely not ideal. And I do, of course, hope that he's, obviously, okay. Let's see here. My Ravens need to change interior offensive line. Number one flaw. Definitely fair. I mean, the thing is you're not going to be able to change that mid-season. But that is kind of something you're going to have to deal with the rest of the year, unfortunately. And I hate to say it, but that other than it is what it is. But we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. Appreciate the super chat, Boba. Appreciate it. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I am very frustrated that I can't, like, interact with the chat, or I can't post them on screen. That is a little frustrating. I'll figure that part out. But I'm still interacting, of course. Would very much love to post the chats on screen, although I am very, very much frustrated with that. But we'll figure it out here, I promise. All right. Tua $53 million over a year from D. Janasi. Appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. I mean, look, it's not, yeah. I mean, $53 million for Tua is, I hate to say it, but I mean, that's going to be, I mean, the Dolphins in a lot of ways are kind of done for 2026 as well, because even if they cut Tua, it's like $100 million dead cap hit. And by the way, I don't mean done, like they might as well just go 0-17. That's not what I'm trying to say. But in terms of, an actual chance, you have Josh Allen, you have Drake May in the division. It's not ideal. It's definitely not ideal right now for the Miami Dolphins. And that's kind of just putting it mildly. I mean, that is the only, it sucks. Let's keep it rolling here. Andrew Voorhees got ruined by injuries. He gets a pass. Daniel Falele, however, he's just been bad. I do know that Ravens fans do not like old Falele. I know they have some thoughts on Daniel Falele, and I get it. I understand where they're coming from. I understand the frustration with Daniel Falele at times. So I definitely get where you're coming from on that one. All right, so let's keep it going here. Falele is buns. Good call. Let's see here. Kyler, why did Kyler come up? Why did Kyler come up here? All right. Let me keep it going here. Again, I wish that I could put the chat on the screen, and I don't know why it's not coming up. I'm kind of like I said, I am very much annoyed by that, but what are you going to do? That is what it is. Oh, well. Roberto. Not sure why Tua threw to Taj Washington of all people on the interception. I'm ready to clean house. Greer, McDaniel, and Tua have to go. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I don't want to do another weekly recap with the Dolphins. They lost again. This is a bad situation. Everybody knows it. I mean, you know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I agree with you, Roberto. There's a lot of decisions Tua makes, although I will say Tua at times wasn't that bad tonight, but then there's also times where Tua's just, I hate to say it, but he's just Tua. And there's nothing you're going to be able to kind of say other than the fact that he's just Tua. And it's going to stink. And that's But the locker room in Miami is going to be heated. Honestly, I would argue it's probably not going to be that heated because you just lost 28-6, and I think players are definitely checked out, if I'm being honest. I mean, I think you can see that on times at the field where the players are just, oh no, we lost again, big deal, it is what it is. But by the way, if you guys are enjoying, please drop a like, helps the channel tremendously. Very much appreciate everyone being here. The Falcons are such a bizarre team. They 100% are. They 100% are. And that's, for Miami to beat the Falcons the way that they did on Sunday rather, and it's just crazy that you never would have thought that would have happened the way that it did. All right, let's see here. They checked out, but the checks still come out. You're 100% right. You are 100% right, and that's, I would argue, is a very frustrating thing for Dolphins fans to watch, because they know that at the end of the day, there's really not a lot they can do as a fan other than, just not go to games, not support Stephen Ross, basically say like, hey, we demand better as fans. Let's see here. Colts could get a steal for Miami's pass rushers, even if they aren't the best either. I think a change of scenery would do all of them really, really well. So I mean, yeah, a change of scenery would be really, really good. All right. Do you think Miami will trade some guys away? So I know what I just said about the change of scenery, how it would do them really well. But here's the thing is if you are Chris Greer, there's obviously a tremendous difference between the two. If you're Chris Greer, how much sense does it make to actually trade your guys away knowing you're not going to be around to make the picks? Now maybe it's a little different because you're 2-7 and your season is very much over. But I don't know, man. There's just part of me where it's like, hey, does it really matter? I mean, does it really matter that, our season is over and that we're done and that we're just done. Like we're not going to come back. We're not going to win the rest of the year. We're not going to go 10-7. And do I really want to, trade away my best players and have me be the last one standing on the boat with, my best, I don't want to say pirates, but my best players elsewhere? So that definitely needs to be brought up. But we'll see. Or is Miami too big of a party city like Las Vegas that distracts their players? Vegas, New York, Miami, Chicago, LA is an exception. So no, I don't think so. I think that there's a bad culture in Miami. And what's frustrating for that is you have, there was times during Miami or during the McDaniel era, because I'm going to be honest, it's in a lot of ways over. I mean, it is. I mean, it's very much over at this point. The McDaniel era is what it is. And you're 2-7, you're in a lot of ways on your way out. What I think about Miami is you're at a point specifically with the Dolphins where Tua would have, it was just earlier this year, and Tua didn't really have one like this. But he would have a press conference moment every week where, and maybe it was different this week because they won, and as we know, winning cures everything. But he would have a press conference moment every week where you would get some laughable bad comment from Tua, and I don't know, just the culture that doesn't happen in teams with good culture, teams with everybody buying in. So within this, there was the whole guys showing up late to meetings. There was guys not showing up to meetings. I would kind of just ask this question here. Do you really think that Andy Reid, do you really think that Patrick Mahomes is showing up to a 10 o'clock team meeting at 10:30 and saying like, sorry guys, I had to take care of something with my kids. I'm sorry for being here at 10:30. No, that doesn't happen. And to have guys constantly showing up late, to have guys not showing up to meetings at all, that's a problem. And at the end of the day, you could say what you want. They're there to play football, but at the end of the day, they're professionals at their jobs, and you don't have stories leak out like that for other great teams. I'll just kind of leave it at that. It just does not happen. So, all right. Let's see here. Nick Saban would have never accepted this when he was at Bama with Tua. I mean, Jalen Hurts and Tua also played. I mean, they each played a lot at Alabama. But that I would argue. I mean, Tua was he was a better player at times at Alabama than he is now. Tua at times is just he's borderline unplayable. Although again tonight I didn't think he was that bad. The interception was bad, but anyway. You'd think Tua would be better with the media considering he's from Alabama. I would agree with that. That's very fair to say. That is very, very fair to say. Just because that is very frustrating in the grand scheme of things, because it doesn't need to be like that. And that's one of the most frustrating aspects of this is Tua has been a professional in the NFL for 5 years now. And yeah, it's just frustrating, man. Let's see here. Super Pony, appreciate the super chat. He says, Mr. Greer, please trade Jalen Phillips to the Colts now. We'll see how that works out. But again, like I said, if you are Chris Greer, would you want to trade your best players when you know in a lot of ways that your job is on the line? And would you want to do that? Because I personally would not. So I do get that. I understand that, but all right, let's keep it going here. All right, let's see your thoughts on Myles Garrett to the Patriots. I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I'm just at the end of the day, like I really am just frustrated for Dolphins fans because to get excited about a team, to get excited about a season. And Dolphins fans, they're very vocal at times on Twitter. There's some Dolphins fans that legitimately talk about Tua like he's a top 6 or 7 quarterback, and they're very loud at times. But to get excited about a season, to be 2-7 through 9 games, to have your season start out the way that it did in Indy, and then to have just countless embarrassing moments after that this year, and just in the first 9 weeks of the season, I really do feel for Dolphins fans, because they do deserve better than that. And so I'll just kind of leave it at that. All right. Anyway, so let's keep it rolling here. All right. Did I say 67? What did I say 67? Or sorry, not 6-7. What did I say 6-7 about? At some point, we should just gather all the bad teams and put them in their own division. And imagine a season where the Jets, Dolphins, Saints, and Titans duke it out for a season. Absolute cinema. That would be something. I'll just kind of leave it at that. All right, let's keep it going here. I'm going to try one thing here. Hold on. We're in the midst of trying a couple of things here. I'm just going to leave it at that, guys. We're in the midst of trying a couple of things. We're working on a couple of things here. I'm just leaving it at that. All right. So let me just. There we go. We're working our way there. All right. We are slowly working our way there. All right. Remember people cried Tua was better than Herbert? I do remember that. I 100% do remember that. And that was, that's kind of, that is what that is. All right. R.I.P. Mike McDaniels. No, he's fine. He's just coaching a bad team. Where do you think Tua will land after he inevitably gets released from Miami? So that's a good question, because the thing is I don't think Tua is going to, I don't think he would get released, because it's such a big dead cap hit. It would be like a $99 million dead cap hit. So we'll see. But I don't think that the Dolphins would be interested in releasing him just because of what that means for the 2026 season. Because in a lot of ways, with the financial impact, that gives up that gives up on the 2026 season. There is one comment I would absolutely love to pin right now, but and like I said, I'm apologize for this, that I can't show comments on the screen right now. But this is a comment from Brandon, who says, is CJ Ham ready for Kyle Hamilton next week? The answer is no. So Kyle Hamilton, if he meets him in the A gap, CJ Ham's ready. CJ Ham will be ready for him. He'll stick him. He'll get him one time really good in the A gap. Kyle Hamilton doesn't have the leverage there. Low man wins. CJ Ham would absolutely, he'd pop Kyle Hamilton. Is Meadow ready for Kyle Hamilton? My 1'1", 21-pound dog ready for Kyle Hamilton? Kyle Hamilton would certainly have the advantage there. I'll just leave it at that. Although, if there was, if Meadow had a ball in her mouth, she's a beagle, by the way, it'd be tough for Kyle Hamilton. He's 6'4", to bend down and pick her up. She's pretty agile. I'll just leave it at that. Titania, appreciate the super chat. Looking at these stats, am I to assume the main takeaway was an MVP beatdown, turned the ball over? So, I don't think Tua himself, again, I don't think he played that bad. The interception was a bad decision. But the story of the game, I would say, was the Ravens taking advantage of a bad team and capitalizing in the mistakes. The Dolphins turned the ball over pretty deep in their own territory in the first half. The Ravens scored a touchdown almost immediately. That is the story. I mean, the Ravens are a good team. I know they're 3-5. I throw the records out. I don't really care what the records say. But at least right now, pertaining to the Ravens, it certainly doesn't apply to other teams. But for the Ravens, it does apply, because they're on their way to being back up, right? And then the Dolphins at one point had a 4th and 1. They were about to go for it. They committed a false start, and this was in Baltimore territory. It puts them back to 4th and 6. They kick a field goal. They miss the field goal. Baltimore goes down, scores a touchdown, 14-3 right there. And that was the game. And the Ravens offense really didn't look that great in the first half, outside of that one drive in which they took advantage of the turnover. But that was, I mean, they picked it up in the second half. As you see, Derrick Henry had a lot of, I mean, he had the one really big, the run down the right sideline. It was like a 40-yard run. And then once the Ravens were up 28-6 with a couple of minutes to play, they really started to get Derrick Henry, just really started to get him going. But, all right. William, appreciate it. I have a 1-hour commute to Minneapolis each morning for school. Always look forward to listening to your streams. Please keep up the good work. Skull. First off, Skull, William. Appreciate it. And William, I will be honest, brother. As you can imagine, little technical difficulties on the comment showing up on the screen. So I'll work on that. That will be worked on, and that will not be a problem moving forward. I'm not sure what happened because we've had them recently. So your comment would be on the screen. It'll be on the screen next time, William. I appreciate it, but I appreciate the super chat, and I'm glad that I'm a part of your routine. That's very humbling. All right. Let's keep it going here. All right. They could release Tua post June 1st. It would suck, but you could field a team still. The whole situation is just bad, man. The whole situation is just... I feel bad for Dolphins fans. I really do, man. All right. Let's see here. Tua was clearly a better prospect than Herbert at the time, so I can't fault the Dolphins for the decision. But, man, the situation sucks. That's fair. That is very fair. For anybody saying, oh, well... hindsight's always 2020. Hindsight is always 2020. So that's a very fair comment because right now, like if there is some, and I'll just use this player as an example because he's a big-bodied quarterback like Daniel Jones is. If somehow, some way, Will Levis, he has like the AC, the AC joiner or whatever. I'm not a doctor, so don't hold me to it. But there was a picture of Will Levis's shoulder. It was really messed up. If you saw it, you saw it. I'll just, again, leave it at that. But if he comes back and somehow has a Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold revival, right? Because Will Levis has the physical tools to be able to do that. I mean, Will Levis has a very strong arm, right? You cannot say 3 years from now that if that happens, that the Panthers should have taken Will Levis over Bryce Young. I would argue the same concept applies with Tua there. So that's very fair. Very fair. All right. What do I need to read out loud here? Let's see here. Thoughts on bad teams battling it out? No. So that would not. No, I'm not a fan of that personally. Just because it's like you're battling for someone to take your job. Not a fan of that. All right. Let's see here. To reiterate my earlier question, where would Tua go after his contract is up? I don't think Miami will re-sign him. They won't. You're right. So to answer that, brother, I have no idea because there's going to be there's a part of this question that I have absolutely zero idea the answer to, and this is something that nobody knows, right? But I'll get to the Will Levis, Daniel Jones in a minute. Hold on, by the way. But we don't know if Tua's ego will allow him to be a backup anywhere else. Is there going to be a part of Tua that's going to say, "Hey, look, I understand it didn't work out in Miami. I'm willing to sit behind." I'll just use Brock Purdy as an example because of the Shanahan system. I'll just use that as an example, and also the fact that Tua's from Hawaii, San Francisco, Hawaii, kind of close. I mean, California. But just bear with me here. Or is he going to basically say, like, no, I want a chance to start. New Orleans, Tyler Shuck, if he doesn't work out, I want to go have a chance in New Orleans. We don't know that. So where's Tua going to go? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. You can say anywhere right now, and I think you would be justifiable. But I think there's a lot of teams that would not want Tua just because of the physical limitations and the understandable physical limitations. So, all right. So the Daniel Jones, Will Levis, it was just basically like a quarterback not having success and then having success. People, like, I'm not trying to bring down Daniel Jones. I'm really not. I'm just trying to bring a point up here. But people don't, I guess, remember that Daniel Jones was running scout team safety reps 365 days ago. Now there's a conversation to be had about should Daniel Jones have been running those reps? No. But there's I mean, look, he was, and that's unfortunate, but Daniel Jones has revived his career, and that's basically all I'm saying. Cookout gang, that absolutely, you know, Cookout is, I mean, 100%. Cookout is awesome. So I'm glad that you know that. I'm glad that we're all aware. All right, let me see here. Hold on here. I'm still trying to work on this as we're going through this, but we'll get there. All right. Let's see here. Herbie was always balling. I mean, once he got to the NFL, he was. See, the Herbert one is definitely a hindsight, just because Herbert was a very controversial prospect. The Herbert one is definitely one where, like, Herbert was not who he was now as a prospect, and that's kind of a. I mean, I hate to say it, but other than, like, I don't like talking in absolutes, like this is 100% this or 100% that, but Herbert was not who he is now as a prospect. Fair or not, that's just, he wasn't. All right. What happened to Kenneth Grant? Great question. Very great question. Because I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to Kenneth Grant. It's been frustrating. It's a very frustrating start to the year for him. Leo says, how much time in Minnesota helped Daniel Jones? That's another thing where, off of this, the whole thing that I've never understood about, like, why the Vikings get so much, like, crap about Daniel Jones, or so, not crap, it's so much, like, oh, they had Daniel Jones. He was on the practice squad. And one thing that I want to bring up is Daniel Jones was on the practice squad, right? And every other team could have had Daniel Jones on their team. I mean, you could have signed him to the active roster last year. The Raiders were trotting out Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew last year. They could have brought in Daniel Jones. The Browns could have brought in Daniel Jones. So this whole, like, I've never understood why the Vikings get that specific. I mean, I do because he was on their practice squad, and I get that part. But the practice squad, he was not on the roster. So, but anyway, how much did the time in Minnesota actually help him? I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think it would be pretty wild to say that a practice squad quarterback, that Kevin O'Connell is responsible for the success of a quarterback on his practice squad. I think that would be a wild leap. And I think that would very much discredit everything Daniel Jones has done. All right. My pal is a big fan of hot dogs and Vikings football. Do you think you'd be disappointed this week? From the Vikings, yes, I do. Let's see here. Is the score more alluding to the fact that Mike McDaniel sucks tonight? Let me think how to answer this, because again, tonight was a microcosm of the Dolphins season. Whenever you look at the Dolphins tonight, it was just missed opportunities. That was the first half. Now the Ravens started to really pull away in the second half, but fumble in the first half. I mean, the thing is does McDaniel deserve some blame? I guess, but it's not Mike McDaniel's fault a player fumbled the football in the first half. I mean, Mike McDaniel's not on there making plays. You can't really fault him for that. And then the Ravens had, they got the ball at the 20-yard line. They get a touchdown out of it. And really, at that point, you're hoping for a field goal. There's not a lot you can do there. Now, from a play calling standpoint and all that, and only getting 6 points, you can have that conversation, yes. But there was a time where the Dolphins went for it. They were, in the Ravens' red zone. You had to get a touchdown to obviously beat this team. They didn't. I mean, the talent there on the Dolphins roster is also not great. I just think it's a classic case of a combination of everything. But, by the way, if you guys are enjoying, like I said, please like the stream. We're at 66 likes. One shy of, dare we say, 60-something likes. 420 viewers. So it was almost 60. It was almost 67 likes, almost 69 likes, and then 420 viewers. So incredible numbers, by the way. All right. Let's see here. Good call, Brandon. Good call, Brandon. Is Tua versus Herbert like Trey Lance versus Mac Jones? No, no, actually, not at all. Not at all. Honestly, just because Trey Lance was a. I don't know if we're gonna have a prospect like Trey Lance. Honestly, again, because I think that the teams would be so scared away from having that type of repeat within that. Just because Trey Lance was playing at the Division One FCS level. I almost got him confused. FCS level, and then played a single game during 2020. And then they didn't play him at all during his rookie year, or like very rarely. He was in a very just sparing role during 2021. Obviously, Jimmy G was the starting quarterback. They went to the NFC Championship game. You go to the NFC Championship game, you're not gonna complain much. I mean, that's a season team's dream of, right? So within that, Trey Lance. I don't think we're ever going to see a prospect that unique again, but maybe that's a hot take. All right, let's see here. Off topic, but is it weird to be a fan of two teams? Appreciate the super chat. And it depends. I mean, it depends because they're like if you're doing the thing of, oh, I'm gonna win both ways no matter who wins, then yes. If it's 50-50, I would say yes. But if it's like, hey, I definitively have my team, I like players on this said team, I will root for them because I like said players, I think that's fine. You guys know I'm a big Justin Herbert fan. You guys know I like Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's a lot of players I like. I like Emeka Ibuka. I like Brian Thomas Jr. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of any of those teams, but I want those guys to succeed. All right. Isn't AR a bit like Trey Lance? Good question, Super Pony. I would also say, I would personally say no, because that is and here's why. Not because like I can't admit I'm wrong about something. Let's just back the train up here a little bit. AR was very raw, but AR was such a, I would say, one-of-one player at the position that somebody was going to take a chance on him. Now, from a raw aspect, some similarities, but AR was also like supposed to start from the get-go. Trey Lance was take a year off, and then, I mean, he took a year off with the COVID situation. I mean, that he didn't transfer from North Dakota State. He played one game, and that was a weird situation. So COVID also played into Trey Lance, which, I mean, I hope we don't have another, pandemic like that. So maybe unless there is another pandemic like that, then maybe there would be another Trey Lance. But I think it's the combination of the pandemic where he played one game, the fact that he played at the FCS level, not the FBS level, and the fact that he played very, very sparingly in his rookie season. I think that just makes him such a rare prospect. And then on top of it, unfortunately for Trey Lance, it was like week 2 of his second season. They had the very ugly rain game against the Bears in week 1, which they lost. I remember everybody was shocked. The Justin Fields Bears beat the 49ers in week 1. Is this the start of something in Chicago? Obviously it wasn't. But then the next week, Trey Lance breaks his ankle, pretty much done. And then the rise of Brock Purdy, the rest is history. So, all right. Do you like Luther Burden? Yes. What if I know? I know. I love Luther Burden. I'm not sure maybe that's because I love Luther Burden, but Goose, appreciate the super chat. Trey Lance was a Herbert the starting. Wait, what? Trey Lance was a blank Herbert. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to. Goose, I would like some clarification there. All right. What if your family grew up in one place and you like them plus the hometown team you grew up watching? Yeah, I mean that's again. There's going to be. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey man. All right, so if your family grew up in one place, let's say they grew up in Dallas, and then you like them plus the hometown team you grew up watching. Let's say you grew up in Tampa. You're a Bucks and Cowboys fan. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's I would personally say like I think there should be a 51-49. I don't think that you should play the. I mean, I don't want to tell you how to fan. Do what you want. I'm not going to sit here and say like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Do what you want. It's sports. It's football. Do what you want. I'm just saying. I personally, Minnesota obviously outranks all, but do what you want. All right. Whatever makes you happy at the end of the day. Like that's the main thing. George, appreciate it. This is what the Ravens needed. I'm so hyped. Hell yeah, George. We take the division in. Oh, I'm so hyped. We take the division in 2 weeks. Also, thoughts on Teddy Buchanan. He's been great for a 4th rounder. Shout out Teddy Buchanan, the defensive rookie of the month. Tremendous value. Tremendous value for the Ravens and Teddy Buchanan. I was a little surprised when they took Teddy Buchanan because I wanted Trenton Simpson to work out so bad. Unfortunately, it didn't. But I'm happy for him. And Teddy Buchanan has played really well. And I think you're only going to see Teddy Buchanan. Maybe the numbers like dip from a statistical standpoint because of Roquan being back. But I'm really, really happy to see Teddy Buchanan just have the success that he's having as a rookie. And any rookie, especially a day 3 rookie, to have the success they are, I'm all for it every time. I'm all for it every time. Somebody did say this year, just don't be a glory hunter like people who were Patriots fans and now Chiefs fans. That is one where it's like, hey, like if I am gonna, that's fair. I think that's fair. Wow, a Vikings fan that was also a Panthers and Seahawks fan. Maybe he's a fan of Adam Thielen. That's Vikings. Shout out Adam Thielen, by the way. Unfortunately, tough end of the career for the boy. Tough end of the career for the boy. I was definitely upset when the Bears picked Luther Burden from a fan standpoint because he's good. Luther Burden will eventually get on the field. I had him as a top 20 player in the class. Loved him at Missouri. He'll get on the field. He'll get on the field. We're just working through it right now. I'll tell you, another player that is really weird is DJ Moore. And it's not that DJ Moore is bad. It's not that DJ Moore is it's not that he's bad. I was going to say cancer, like to the team. He's not. It's not that he's bad. He's just solid, but he's not great. And he's just not, but he's not like game changing to the point where it's like, whoa, DJ Moore's out there, man. Like we got to be aware of DJ Moore. Now he did have the insane play down the sideline last week. That was awesome. Very happy for DJ Moore. But DJ Moore, I feel like has been a player that I would kind of say is like at like the 70th percentile where he's good, not great. And if you have him, you're like, oh yeah, cool. We got DJ Moore. He's obviously, it's also unfortunate that he plays in the division where he's outshined by other guys. Like I'm on Ross St. Brown, and others. But DJ Moore is just, I don't know, man. He's a player that should be a lot better and should get a lot more recognition. And then you also have Olamide Zaccheaus. I don't want to slander the good name of Olamide Zaccheaus, but DJ Moore will be a fantastic Raven in like 5 years. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of good old receivers that have went to Baltimore. DeAndre Hopkins the most recent. DJ Moore in 5 years would be 33. He was class of 2018. You could have the class of 2018 connection with Lamar. That would be very fitting. Here's a good question. Appreciate the super chat. If you had to guess, who do you think the Dolphins starting quarterback is next season? Also love the content so much. It's nice to put on in the background. I appreciate that. Thank you. And so if I had to guess, right? If I had to guess, I would like to think they're going to take a chance on somebody. You're not going to like the first name that I just thought of, but a former decently high draft pick that did not work out in hopes that they can turn it around. Because they're not going to have a lot of options, right? It can be run it back with Tua again, or they can release Tua. The thing is, if they trade Tua, you are taking on that money if you are another team. So it's going to be similar to an NBA trade where it's like, hey, here's Tua and a third. We'll take back a sixth. I have no idea what the actual terms would be. Just bear with me on that. So Tua is just I don't know, man. I hope it's not Tua, but the first name that I thought of was a guy that had a pair of small hands. That was the first player that I thought of. But we'll see. It was not Zach Wilson. By the way, just wanted to say I thought you only read super chats. Really appreciate your answer and read all questions. Love the content. Appreciate it, Lucas. So, what I would say, well, to that, I mean, the thing is and I promise I'll get the super chats. I'll get the chats back on the screen tonight. Consider it a one-time malfunction in terms of that. I'll get the chats back on screen, so you will see your name on screen soon. I promise. But. So Kenny Pickett, by the way, that was not like a guarantee. That was the first thought that I had in terms of a former high draft pick. But I don't know, Mac Jones, maybe. I mean, go through all of them. Go through all of the picks. Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is Trey Lance going to get a chance to start somewhere finally? I mean, not finally, but is he going to get a chance other than to be a backup? Go through all of them. Malik Willis, is it going to be? Would they trade for Will Levis? Spencer Rattler, could they trade for Spencer Rattler? That would probably, I mean, because of the Tyler Shuck situation, and then because New Orleans may take a quarterback in the top 10, I would say just go through those quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson's an interesting one. Tanner McKee, if somebody didn't say Tanner McKee. Good call, CG8, good call. But go through any of those guys. Quinn Ewers, no. Look, Quinn Ewers has a family. I'm not. I'll just leave it at that. No. All right. Sleepy Girl, appreciate super chat and missed the game. Just tuned into the stream. What went wrong for the Dolphins and right for the Ravens? Can you catch me up? Yes. So, Dolphins had a good first drive. They made it 3-0. That's about all for the Dolphins. I'll just be direct. That's about all. The Ravens, they went 3-and-out. They punted the ball back deep in Miami territory. They might have had a first down, whatever. They might have had a first down, although I think it was a 3-and-out. Miami has the ball at like their own 20. They fumble the football. Baltimore gets the ball at their 25. Go down, touchdown, 7-3. Miami gets the ball back. They go down, have a solid drive. It's 4th and 1 from like the Ravens 21 area. I don't know the exact yard line, so just bear with me. It's 4th and 1. They're about to go for it. False start. 4th and 6. McDaniel's the most furious I've ever seen him. Kicks a field goal. They miss the field goal. It's still 7-3. The Ravens go down, capitalize 14-3. And then the Dolphins eventually got another field goal at one point. The Ravens only had 4 first downs in the first half, so they capitalized off their opportunities. They didn't do too much in the first half offensively other than that. And then in the second half, the Ravens really started to get going. Derrick Henry, he had one really good run in the second half, and then they it was 28-6 already. They kind of stat padded, if you will, but so it wasn't like a Derrick Henry runs all over him type night, but Lamar had 4 total touchdowns. That's pretty much the game, I would say. All right. Let's see here. Snoop Huntley to Miami. Again, take your any of the. Here's another one. Shedeur Sanders to Miami. Take your choosing of any of those quarterbacks. And also, we don't know who's going to be the head coach next year, because I think we can all agree on one thing, that the Mike McDaniel's not going to be the head coach. I mean, unless Chris Grier has some sort of dirt on Stephen Ross, he should not be the GM. Jalen Milroe, no. But I'm disappointed the fact the Dolphins haven't used him. I want them to. And by the way, speaking of Jalen Milroe, I had a weird comment a couple weeks ago. It was, I had this idea that the Seahawks should use Jalen Milroe in short yardage situations. Basically, the fact that it would be similar to a Wildcat offense. Somebody commented that, and this was something weird to get mad about. It was like, you've been saying this all summer. Get your Jalen Milroe wet dream idea out of your head. He's not going to be that guy in Seattle. And I'm talking about a player that would play like 4 snaps a game, similar, or not even a Taysom Hill role, but very. That comment would just, I was like. Anyway, Jalen Milroe, I still love the idea of him being a Wildcat quarterback. Keep Perk, appreciate it. Dolphins fans with paper bags sums up the team. Also a good summarization of the game. Chad Pennington, maybe Chad Pennington's son, Cole Pennington, who's in college right now. Good call. As of today, which team is in the worst situation? Miami has a case, and here's why. I know the low-hanging fruit over the past couple of years has been Cleveland due to the Deshaun Watson contract. I would argue Miami has a very similar, or I would argue it's worse, because they have the Tua contract. And not only do they have the Tua contract, but guys, whenever you rebuild an NFL team, whenever you think about this, you got to think about the quarterbacks in your division. And if you are going up against Justin Fields twice a year, that's enough to take somebody else to take another job. Jokes aside, I like Justin Fields as a person, want him to succeed. But when you're going up against Josh Allen and Drake May a quarter of your schedule every year, and you have Tua for $100+ million on the books, or right around 100 at this point, that's a bad situation, man. The Jets situation could also be viewed as one of the worst, yes. Jets, because of this division. All right. Get Will Levis in there, it would go from a tragedy to a comedy. You can say what you want about Will Levis, but at minimum, the man is going to play entertaining football. At the very minimum. So. And by the way, speaking of, somebody said Mayo, Miami Dolphins. Somebody said last night, and I cannot confirm or deny if this was a troll. I hope it was. Somebody said last night, and I would like to see if Brandon is still in here. So, Brandon, if you are watching this, I would like to see your reaction to this. Somebody said last night that they put mayo on pancakes. And I hope to God that was a joke. But to each their own. Will Levis always gives max effort. I will credit him that. He 100% does. If you want comedy, just look at this guy's shirt. Damn, you what's wrong with the Miami themed shirt? Anytime Miami plays, I'm always on the this is the only time that I can bring this shirt out. I can't exactly bring this shirt out when I'm talking about, the Green Bay Packers or the Minnesota Vikings. But anyway, Sleepy Girl, appreciate super chat. Which 3 teams do you believe have the brightest future for the rest of the decade? You have to start with Drake May. Shout out, if you want to, Drake May. You have to start off with that. So the Patriots. Oh, man. Brightest future. Because for the success Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold have had, they're not like 23, 24. They're not guys that you think are, man, they're going to, I can't wait to see what they are in 4 years. So, and that's not to discredit them. It's just there's a difference between Drake May and the projection versus those guys, right? Brightest future. I feel like you kind of have to go with like the quarterback and who you think is still going to be good in a couple of years. So I feel like the Chiefs would still be in that conversation. I feel so. Chiefs, Patriots. Man, it's just time is a flat circle. Time is just a flat circle. With the Patriots. Who would the other one be? Bills are obviously going to be in the conversation because of Josh. Lions, good call. Lions. Yep, Lions. Lions would probably be the answer. Lions or Packers? I mean, they're up there, man. Packers are certainly up there because of how young the defense is. Packers, it's got to be one of those. I once had to serve a customer a meatball sub with mayo. I put 2 Alka-Seltzer in his bag. Good on you, man. Good on you. Good on you. Packers took a big step this year. Who knows how they'll look? Yeah. And Micah Parsons is, Micah Parsons. Edge Cooper, by the way. Awesome. Love Edge Cooper. By the way, if you guys, speaking of Edge Cooper, if you guys did not watch the video that was posted earlier today, the best and worst picks from the 2024 NFL Draft, please go watch. Edgerrin Cooper is discussed in that video, as are a couple of other players. Drake May is also discussed in the 2024 draft class video. But that is going to wrap up tonight's stream. Ravens roll 28-6, take advantage of a bad team's mistake. So if you did enjoy, please like the stream. Please subscribe. Helps the channel tremendously. Closing into 220,000 subscribers. And I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. So as always, until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.